Hello, people. We are back at it again with another exciting week of your CSA Rocket League action. On the desk, it's going to be myself here. We've got the New Orleans Nightmares and the Grand Forks Spartans. That'll be covering up your professional, your superstar, and your world-class play for the day. But because we were unable to get our novice matchup lined up, I went ahead and got our Academy game, which would be New Orleans Nightmares versus your Charlotte Comets, actually, for the opening matchup. So it'll be a bit of a change, not the usual play. We'll have, Academy, and then we'll run professional, superstar, world class. But all in all, it's still going to be a lot of great matchups, a lot of great gameplay. And with New Orleans the last couple weeks performing super well in terms of the first major and moving from that 14th overall spot all the way up to 8th, I believe they're currently sitting at. It is a great way to get the season kind of rebounded. But without further ado, we have our Academy teams ready to go. I believe both lineups are here and available. So we will go ahead and we will jump right over to some Rocket League action here. Ooh, got to get my stuff flipped around for sure. We'll see which side fits up. Have good time. Have good time. But all in all, we are getting our people lined up here. We've got Cletus with Charlotte. I need to get my top setup here flipped around. We don't need our main overlay because we got New Orleans on the right-hand side here with Boltini, Vortex, and Wi-Fi. Looking for a bit of a regain after a struggle in the opening series tonight. Both teams kind of feeling each other out. Daze looking to drop this down center. Vortex able to clear it away. Vortex pops it over to the sidewall here. Has the follow. Daze with a bit of a mistouch. Nobody's back for defense. Can Vortex take the opening goal? And they do. Goal number 1 goes to New Orleans. Great way to get the game kicked off here. Daze. Vortex. A bit of a kickoff going together here. Wi-Fi dropping it down. It's going to bounce right over Mori. Cletus with the follow. Bounces center. Boltini, not a lot of boost, but they're able to get the first touch and kind of push it away here. Without a whole lot of boost there, they aren't able to get it past Daze, who takes the control and is unable to get it past Vortex. Vortex pops it center. Wi-Fi looking for the shot on center, but Daze is able to clear it away, and Mori with the diving touch keeps this out of their own net. And I'm going to be honest with you, you love to see the team play, to be able to drop it down for your teammate and leave it. But as a New Orleans fan, I really was hoping they'd be able to get back to that. Cletus putting that into the net here for the opening goal for Charlotte. Academy action underway. First time we've had it on stream all season, at least for the New Orleans side of things. And, you know, I've been advocating for it. They were talking about potentially doing a mix-up next season so that all tiers can get some better coverage. So if you're interested in playing for CSA and you've been a little discouraged about not seeing your matches up on stream, that should not be an issue going into next season. Ooh, what a redirect for Mori. Mori able to take that inbound pass and put that just a little too high for Wi-Fi. And incredible touch. 3:33 left to be played. I think I've got that wrong, actually. I have not adjusted my barrel. This is not semifinals. This is, in fact, CSA Week 5 Academy action, and holy cow, Charlotte's starting to pull it on. Boy, oh boy, if you are rooting for if you're rooting for New Orleans, this is a dangerous spot to be in already. Down 3-1, 3:30 left to be played. That is a lot of Rocket League left in the tank for sure. But if New Orleans really wants to take this series and potentially win their first one on stream tonight, they really got to figure out a way to maintain control and maintain possession of the ball. It's a difficult ask because Academy, these players are anywhere from about C1 all the way to C3. Wow, incredible touch by Vortex there to keep it out of their own net. But, you know, Academy is right there. It's in the name. These players are developing, looking to really hone their skills and force themselves up into the potentially the next tier. You know, it is all in all the end goal for a lot of players. Work their way into world class and hopefully earn that $750 prize pool. Mori, outlets, over Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi, not a lot of boost. Leaves it for Vortex. Vortex with control. Shoves it back over to the corner. Ooh, Cletus. Bit of an awkward spot here, but they're able to stall the play. Boltini turning back into the action. Mori, though, able to get it right over the last line of defense. Daze dives in, keeps the pressure alive. Wi-Fi, a little bit of an awkward spot, uses all their boost to get to the 100, and it has to take the 50 instead of being able to push it down the pitch and initiate a counterattack quickly. Boltini drops it down, Daze with a read. Vortex is there for the follow, wants to keep this back into the corner here. Cletus can't quite get the touch, so Wi-Fi splits the 50. Cletus with yet another that's off the ceiling. That's going to be, ooh, a little high, but Daze is there to put it away. That is goal number 4 for Charlotte. Tough spot to be for New Orleans. Down 4-1, game 1 in this best of 5 here. Boltini splits the kickoff here. Ooh, Mori with a good pop. Boltini elevates. It goes over Mori. Wi-Fi looked like they were going up for the redirect, but they didn't realize how high it was going to be coasting there. Boltini demos the back line. Mori outlets here. Daze gets a bit of a pop. Might be able to follow. Looking for the second touch here. Cletus, it's a little over, but Mori's there for the follow. No! Boltini quickly initiates the counterattack. Gets over one. Puts it off the backboard. But Daze has that red for Daze and does not let that go even remotely close to their own goal. Ah, man. You know, New Orleans, for those of you who were tuning in last week and the week before for your first CSA major here, was able to gain a crud load of points. They had 2 teams make it all the way to the finals. Unfortunately, neither team was able to walk away with a finals victory in the first major, but all in all, definitely something to be proud of because this franchise has moved from the 14th overall all the way up to 8th. An incredible move that has really set them up for the back half of the season here as we are in week 5 with only 3 weeks to go after this. Ooh, Boltini can't quite get it past here. Vortex pops it up to the sidewall here. Wi-Fi backs off. No, Wi-Fi, you had the opportunity. It was there for you. Wi-Fi dropped it to Vortex. Vortex and Wi-Fi double commit. Both players really wanting to engage the action yet again, but neither communicating super well. Leaves New Orleans losing game 1, 4-1. And by golly, this just hurts. I mean, if you're if you're a New Orleans fan like me, it's a tough spot to be in. I mean, you lose game 1. These teams were, all in all, not as close as I was hoping. Charlotte able to put 7 shots on net compared to New Orleans 3. Not what you want to see. But I do know these players, a lot of them are really good at being that Teflon player, letting it slide right off and not affect them. So hopefully going into game 2 here, we will see New Orleans do a bit of regaining and just get back into the action. Ooh, looks like we've got all 6 players readied up and ready to go. Vortex pops it through one. Daze with a read here. Boltini keeps this play alive, shoves it off the back post here and tries to get it through the defender, but can't quite beat that struggle. Cletus, a little bit of a miscommunication here. They both push up. Daze somehow able to keep this play alive in turn. That 50, very favorable to Boltini, who pushes this all the way down. Wi-Fi with a beautiful read, and Boltini is not able to elevate over the defender and put that on target, so instead Vortex is going to begin the second challenge. Mori, Wi-Fi, get another 50 here. Wi-Fi backing off the ball a little bit, letting Vortex play up here. Vortex pops at center, looking for Boltini. Boltini's pass gets read out by Mori. Mori, dangerous spot here as Daze is able to leave this for their teammate Mori, but can't quite put it on net. Difficult spot for New Orleans. Looks like they're struggling to really get good chemistry going as all the players just, they keep diving into each other's path and really struggling to find a good fitting. Chemistry is going to be that deal breaker. You're going to have teams that might not necessarily have the most mechanics. They might not necessarily have the greatest offensive skill set, but they're going to enter the pitch with a mindset for team play, and it will pay off every single time because they are looking for that extra pass. They're looking to play where their teammates aren't and really just support each other along the way. I hope New Orleans can find that mentality here as Mori is able to center this up. Vortex drops it off to Boltini. Boltini pops it up for the first touch. Boltini leaves it for Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi dives back in. Not a lot of boost, but is able to split the 50. Mori keeping this out of their own net. Vortex touch is intercepted and put off the sidewall here. Cletus in an awkward spot. Misses the first touch. Mori has to dive back in. So Boltini is able to put this off the sidewall. That's dropping center. Daze with the read. Wi-Fi with the stop. Wi-Fi with yet another stop is looking to pass the center here, but can't quite get back to the ball. And instead, Boltini will take up the torch here. Ooh, Cletus with the outlet touch. Favorable bounce for New Orleans. Keeps it out of their touch. Daze with the read. Looked for a self-pass off the backboard, but that was cut out quickly. Cletus. Ooh, can't quite get back to the ball here. So instead, Vortex is going to shove this through. Daze with the read off the backboard, looking like Spider-Man. Doesn't want to let that pass and potentially become a dangerous spot. Wi-Fi a little too high. Boltini with the follow here. Boltini takes the wave dash. Ooh, can't quite get back to it. Thought they might have been able to take a pinch shot from their angle, but they landed just a little bit too far. Instead, Vortex is going to put this all the way high into the corner. Boltini has possession. Gets underneath the ball. Unfortunate pinch as that's going to redirect back a little bit towards their own net and leave Wi-Fi in a dangerous spot. Vortex, Daze, split the 50. That's on target, and Wi-Fi puts that away. Goal number 1 here in Game 2. A bit of shades of Game 1 as New Orleans takes the opening goal. Looks like we're going to get a kickoff here from Daze and Vortex. Vortex splits the touch. Boltini leaves it for the first touch. Wi-Fi is able to shove it through Cletus. Cletus unable to generate enough power to really get that past that staunch New Orleans offense here. Cletus pushes it over to Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi looking for the redirect center, but Daze takes all the power generated from that corner touch and redirects it all the way down the pitch to initiate a quick counterattack that immediately nets a net gain for Charlotte, who takes goal number 1 on their side here. Boltini and Mori split the kickoff. It is incredible to be able to get some Academy League action. I'm always a big fan of seeing the Titans of world class duke it out, but I do love seeing some love shown for our Academy tier teams. These are the players you're going to see, hopefully, going into next season. Be promoted into novice and potentially start developing even further than that into potentially professional or superstar. So these are some names you'll want to be paying attention to for the future. Mori looking for a pass to Daze. Daze can't quite get back to the touch here, so Boltini outlets to Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi puts it back to the sidewall to take control. Has the first touch, looking for the second. Can't quite get it past the defense. Vortex, though, idles back into offense immediately. Doesn't want to let the ball leave this front third for Charlotte. Boltini pushes it through. Favorable spot for Vortex, who takes a very light touch on the first. Is unable to push it through Mori, so instead Wi-Fi is going to take the touch here. Cletus attempts to outlet. Boltini with the read. Boltini looking for a second touch here. Gets it. Great bounce, but Daze is going to have that read. A high push outwards, leaves it for Cletus. Cletus can't quite get the touch, and instead Mori is going to put a shot on with a deep touch here. I don't think Wi-Fi has enough gusto to put that all the way across the pitch, and we are going to see the first overtime of this series here. Vortex and Daze splitting the kickoff. Boltini takes a bold move here. Bit of a bounce shot. Not able to put it on target, though. Wi-Fi shoves it through. Cletus with the touch. Vortex wants to get the push, wants to elevate that for their team, but is unable to get it through the defense. Boltini, strong 50 here. Wi-Fi with the follow. Wi-Fi's looking for a second touch. Is demolished by Mori. Not really sure how Mori got the touch and the demolition there, but incredible play nonetheless. Mori dropping it down to Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi tries to get it through Daze, but Daze flips into it well to keep it against the wall. Daze still in the play. Opts to put it into the corner so they can pass it to their own teammate. They don't elevate quite high enough, so Cletus is going to be able to put this away. No, that's going to be cleared away as now Boltini has to quickly dive back into the action to keep this Charlotte team from developing anything further. Mori, Vortex, split a touch here. That elevates over one. Vortex in a bit of a difficult spot. They're going to need to put a touch into the corner. Try to keep this out of a dangerous angle. Ooh, Mori elevates a once. Oh, it's going to be a Bardowski. No, Daze puts it just a little too high. And New Orleans will survive for yet another minute as we now move to a minute 18 on overtime in game 2 here. Dangerous spot for Charlotte. Cletus elevates, looking to put it off the sidewall here, takes the pinch. Wi-Fi pops it up over one. Looking for the follow, pops it up. That's going to be a dangerous spot for Mori, who puts it off the ceiling to themselves. Vortex collects it. That's going to be a waterfall down. Can Boltini read? No, it's going to be wide. Can Vortex put it away? No. They won't be able to slot this home and take game 2, and instead we will continue what seems to be an ever-long overtime here. Vortex puts it over for their own corner. Boltini with not a lot of boost is going to try and keep this alive here. Vortex elevates, gets the first touch. That's going to drop back to Boltini, who just collected 100. Takes a very favorable bounce off the back wall here, but Wi-Fi is unable to take the touch. So instead, Vortex is going to be putting that on target. No, it's a bar down. Oh my. Twice now in overtime, we have seen a bar down from both sides, and we almost saw a power of friendship pinch in game 2 here. Wi-Fi tries to take the corner pinch, tries to push it up pitch, and instead now it's going to come to Boltini, now favoring Vortex. Wi-Fi instead, though, shoves it all the way down to the corner, splits the 50 with Daze. If Boltini can elevate and get the touch here, they can, but Mori has the read. Vortex. Ooh, Vortex, bit of a miscue. Wi-Fi, though, thankfully there to follow that up. Bit of a double commit. Oh, dangerous spot here. If Cletus can corral this. Vortex, though, diving back into the action, gets yet another save for New Orleans and is going to keep their game 2 hopes alive. Vortex dives, unable to make the touch here. Boltini's in an awkward spot, near side, ball side rotating back. Daze puts it off the sidewall here. That's going to be a ripper for Vortex, and a slot in the top right bins as New Orleans takes game 2 in this best of 5 series. Beautiful, beautiful play. You love to see it. Incredible play. I know this isn't novice. I know this isn't what you're used to tuning into. You're used to seeing on incredible CSA action. Instead, though, you're getting to see your first look at the New Orleans Academy team. Hopefully, we'll get to show a little bit more of their action next season on stream, especially since we have incredible talents like Wi-Fi, Vortex, and Boltini. This team able to generate 7 shots compared to their Charlotte's 8, but able to convert 2, a lot better. Their defense, though, I would love to see a little more out of. Keep it out of the middle of the pitch. Let it be a bit more of a dominant pressure fest. You know, you don't want to be playing on the back foot the entirety of the series. Cletus, Mori, Daze against Wi-Fi, Vortex, and Boltini. The series has effectively been reset. I mean, we're back to 0-0. It's now a best of 3 almost. Mori drops it down. Wi-Fi just wants to apply pressure, immediately puts the shot on target. Cletus, though, elevates. That's a great pop. It's a little bit high, but it's dangerous nonetheless. Wi-Fi dropping it back for Vortex. They're going to be able to keep this out of the New Orleans net for a few more seconds, but that is a dangerous spot nonetheless. With how great this Charlotte team has been shooting, you do not want to let them keep putting this on target. You need to get this out of your back third for sure. Days has control. Scoops underneath, pushes this to Mori. Mori pops it up, can't quite get it past Vortex, who has the read. The shadow defense just ever so crisp. Vortex collects the pads, rotates back, split 50 as Mori tries to get it through to set up Days for a shot here, is unable to get it pushed past the defense of New Orleans. Boltini, Cletus, bit of a miscue there. Days tries to get it through Boltini. Boltini with only 20 boost, can't speak, is able to push it past. Cletus and Wi-Fi split yet another 50. These two teams are really just going at it. Oh, Vortex, I could have swore that was going to be a goal, but with this director cam, I did not see that incredibly stifling defense flying out of frame to swat that away. Wi-Fi tries to take a bit of a cheeky chip shot here, is unable to make contact with the ball, so instead Boltini's going to take up the mantle. Vortex splits a 50 with the defense. They're trying to keep this all the way pushed up on the pitch. The best defense is a great offense if you can keep it away from your own goal. Vortex elevates, looking for the redirect center. That's not going to quite be on, but it is dangerous nonetheless for Charlotte. No boost and a large touch by Mori as they're able to push this all the way down the pitch. Vortex dropping this back into the corner where Boltini is in the waiting. That's a pop high. Vortex looking for a touch off the backboard. Vortex lands on the sidewall but can't quite get another touch. So Wi-Fi, who's bumped away from the ball, is going to try and keep this alive. Vortex pops under one. Mori cutting it out quickly, grabs the 100 boost, pops right back into it, gets an elevated. No! Wi-Fi is able to clear that away. With 2.5 minutes left to be played, this is incredible academy action as both teams are looking for a bit of a turnaround from the first series. I believe both teams lost the first series. What is going on? That I don't believe was actually in. I believe that was going to be a little wide. Days popped it up. That was going to be dangerous nonetheless, but it looked like a bit of a mistouch here that slots it into an own goal against New Orleans, putting them down 1-0 here in Game 3. Vortex first to the ball, but not fast enough as Days is able to take control of this and put a shot on. Wi-Fi has to take a very, very tough touch and put it back into the sidewall here. Wi-Fi with a follow. A boom. Ooh, right over the goalkeep Days. And Days is left in a daze as they are unable to get back to the ball. And this is now goal number 1 here for New Orleans in Game 3. This is about as even of a matchup as we could have asked for. Game 1 very heavily in favor of Charlotte, who won 4-1. Game 2 going barely in favor of New Orleans in a 2.5-minute overtime thriller that left New Orleans winning 3-2. And now in Game 3, both teams are equalized at 1. And you love to see it. You love to see Rocket League action where both teams are definitely in it to win it, and they're both competitive. So you get to see some incredible back and forth action. Wi-Fi pops it through. Days with not a lot of boost is going to have to just try to get a touch here, but can't quite get back to the ball. Cletus turns, is demolished. Boltini with a shot on. Oh, Mori was in a dangerous spot here, coming off the back wall. Didn't have a lot of vocational movability as they were just in a tough spot. But if you're a New Orleans fan like I am, that is very favorable for us here as we now move to 2-1 in Game 3 here. Boltini, bit of a misplay. Gets back to the ball, though. Doesn't let Cletus actually put a shot on target. Wi-Fi and Vortex, bit of a double commit, but they keep this out of the net nonetheless. Boltini and Vortex double commit into the ball yet again, but they're able to keep this pushed away. Vortex, not a great touch, but Wi-Fi is there with the follow. Probably for the best as all 3 members of Charlotte were rotated onto that side of the pitch. Great demolition of Cletus. Days is in a bit of a struggle spot. Opts to push it all the way down the pitch and lose possession. Leaving the sidewall, they have 100. They take their flip reset, but it's a little bit too far away to actually follow that and keep the play alive. Days, sidewall pinch, drops high in center. Days has the read. Vortex, though, with a very crisp, deep clear. Oh, my. Look at that Curry from well over half the pitch here. Drains a 3. I know we can't call it a 3-point shot because, by golly, that would be beautiful for Rocket League right now. But that is a great spot for New Orleans, who's really found a way to turn it around after a Game 1 snafu blowout. And now in Game 2, they were able to make a light win. And now in Game 3, this is a bit more of a statement, as they are now up 3-1, and the one goal they gave up was an own goal. Days, Vortex, split the 50. Boltini's in a tough spot, dives out, able to make contact with Cletus' shot, and keeps that away. Wi-Fi with a deep touch here. With only 3 seconds left to be played, there's not enough time for 2 goals to be had for Charlotte, so instead, Game 3 goes in favor of the New Orleans Nightmares. Great play. And what's incredible when we look at these stats here is Charlotte took 9 shots that game, 1 goal. So New Orleans has figured out a way through games, the beginning of Game 2 and now Game 3 here, to play a bit of a bend, don't break defense that is really holding on to their lead. They're not letting Charlotte initiate. They're not letting Charlotte really take the lead. And in turn, this is keeping Charlotte out of the back of the net. Bend, don't break defenses do traditionally work. We've seen it from a couple key players in RSC and MLE in the past. But all in all, whereas most teams might say, hey, we need to dominate the midfield, this New Orleans team is finding a way to redirect all the pressure they're getting for quick counterattacks, and it's paying off tremendously against this playstyle. Wi-Fi. Ooh, bit of a mistouch here. Vortex, though, with the follow, is able to catch Charlotte off guard. Maury, Cletus, both a bit confused here as they wanted to commit for the ball but couldn't quite dive back into the action. Cletus leaves it for Maury. Maury is able to get it over the last line of defense for New Orleans, but Vortex opts to rotate back in from the backside and keep this play firmly on Charlotte's side here. Drop down center, Boltini with a shot, a ripper, as the goalkeeper is unable to keep this out of the back of the net, and New Orleans finds themselves up 1-0 in Game 4, best of 5 action. Wow, right on the edge. I mean, if New Orleans can find a way to win this game here, it'll be over. Well, we will be looking at moving on to our professional series. And all in all, I mean, that's just what you want to see if you're a fan of New Orleans. Cletus, taking a bit of an outlet off the backboard here, isn't able to keep this on the Charlotte possession train, so instead Wi-Fi passes to themselves off the sidewall, looking for a first, a second, and actually takes a third touch. Can't quite redirect at center for Boltini, so instead, Charlotte's going to take possession, pushing it all the way out for Boltini. It's a dangerous spot to find yourself in Rocket League when instead of playing possession ball, when you're taking the first light touch, you are shoving it all the way down the pitch. What looked like a bit of a struggle turned into Charlotte's favor as they pushed it all the way down the pitch, opted to get it over Wi-Fi as a pass off the backboard for Cletus, and they slot goal number 1 here for Charlotte. New Orleans, you've got them on the ropes. A win here is the end of the series, and you would want to take it now. You don't want to give all the momentum going into a Game 5 finale to a team that would just beat you here. Cletus putting off the sidewall with tremendous power. Push that back at center. Days fakes the first touch, splits a friendship pinch, which might go over Maury. Maury, though, quick to elevate, is able to keep this from turning into a very dangerous spot. Wi-Fi with a read, keeps Maury's shot away from the net. Vortex pushes this over into the corner. Maury can't quite land fast enough to collect the 100 boost, stay alive in this play. Boltini shoves it to Days. Vortex with a bit of a mistouch here. Leaves Wi-Fi in a dangerous spot. Not a lot of boost. Not a great spot to rotate in general. A waterfall down here could be dangerous for New Orleans. A mistouch. Oh, wow. Maury with an incredible double tap off the backboard. Academy highlights coming out here in Game 4 against New Orleans. Holy cow. That was definitely not on my bingo card for the day, seeing an Academy player take a very crisp double tap off the backboard to punish an out-of-position defender from New Orleans. Cletus Takes the touch, shoves it over for a great pass. There's met a little bit too late by the two-man. So in turn, New Orleans has possession. Boltini has their 100 being stolen from them. Grabs a new 100 out of the corner. Cletus pushes it back into their own side. Has possession, gets a second touch here, but Vortex keeps this play alive. Ooh, Wi-Fi passes it off the backboard of Vortex. Vortex unable to take the touch and put it on target. So Mori has possession here. Wi-Fi undercuts it. Wi-Fi looking for yet another touch here. Splits it with a falling defender in Cletus. Days opts to take 2 50s back to back to keep this out of their own net. Wi-Fi has control. No, Days quickly elevates to keep their own plays in mind. Vortex pushes it down the pitch. There's nobody in the net. If Vortex can redirect the center, what a play by Days, who quickly elevates, gets to the backboard, plants firmly, and is able to clear away what should have been an easy open net for New Orleans. Instead now, we see this to the sidewall as Days pops it over one. Vortex pushes it through. There's nobody there for the shot. So instead, we will stay 2-1 for just a couple more seconds. Boltini, shot on target here. Days with the clear. An easy clear nonetheless. Ooh, deep touch here. Boltini, a bit of a snafu. Went to catch it off the front of their car, and it caught it a little bit too far back, so it popped up high. Wi-Fi turns. Has control here. Mori takes the shot. That's going to be a shot on. Nobody from New Orleans contests the shot. And in turn now, Charlotte regains after a Game 2 and Game 3 loss to New Orleans. Takes a 3-1 lead here in Game 4 to hopefully prolong this best-of-5 series. Ooh. Boltini gets a very favorable kickoff here. Great follow by Vortexes. Now they move up to be 3-2 in this match 4 game. It was Game 4. I don't know why I'm struggling to speak here. Bit of a friendship pinch. Love to see it. Boltini and Vortex shoving it through the last line of defense. With 57 seconds left to be played, this is still a very, very anybody can win game, as both teams have a lot of Rocket League action left on the table. A mistouch by both Mori and by Vortex leaves this all the way down the pitch. Wi-Fi doubles back, near side rotates, but takes the touch nonetheless. Vortex pops it over one, looking for a pop off the sidewall. Boltini pushes it for Vortex. Days has a great read. Wi-Fi looking for a shot on target without enough power. Mori is able to clear that away. It's all the way down the pitch. Now on New Orleans back third. Boltini goes ahead of the ball. Vortex, not a lot of boost. Opts to put it on target. Vortex looking like they might be trying to put their own name stamp on this game here. Has now scored the last 2 goals of the game and has equalized New Orleans and Charlotte on the board here. Mori, Vortex split the 50. Boltini's there for the shot on. Cletus has to make a very last second save with only 5 seconds left to be played. That's going to be a shot on. No, it's a little wide. Boltini dives back in with a dangerous spot to be played. Boltini pops it up. Cletus takes a light touch, and we move to overtime here in Game 4. Next goal could be the end of this Academy series. Vortex turns around and collects 100. Cletus tries to posture and be dangerous, but Vortex knows better. Vortex gets the push down the pitch. Days turns, pops it high, looking for Mori. Mori has control off the ceiling, looking for a double tap, but it's going to be cleared away by Vortex, who does not want to let that become the end of the series. Days elevates, shades of game earlier. Ooh, bit of a 50-50 split. A lot of power coming out of the pinch here. Days flip resets off the sidewall, gets back to the ball here. Boltini, not a lot of boost, is going to have to leave that for Mori. A very deep touch here. Great favorable bounce. Cletus has to push this back into the corner. Boltini is deleted by Mori. Wi-Fi putting this all the way across the pitch to the sidewall. Vortex is unable to take control here, so they're going to have to let that go. Vortex turns back into the ball, pops it high. Cletus pushing it down the pitch. Maury dives, unable to make the touch here. Day's last line of defense here. Vortex isn't going to be able to elevate, so Boltini's going to put a shot on, but it was right at the defender, and we move here to a minute 13 in overtime. Now, game 2, very favorable for New Orleans. They won 3-2 in overtime. What is going on, New Orleans? Let's in an easy goal for Charlotte as Maury rips the e-brake, spins, turns, and pops that high. I am so confused as to where New Orleans had gone because that ball did not have any gusto behind it. That had all the feathers. By golly, that is a tough spot to be in if you're New Orleans, because now we are looking at what could be an exceptionally tough spot. You just lost all of the momentum in games from games 2 and 3 in game 4. So that's that is tough for sure. Cletus diving back into the action here. Vortex gets a great flick, gets a great bump, pops it high in center. Dazed though, plays patient, gets underneath. Boltini, 50 split, that's high off the backboard. Maury, not a lot of boost, has to leave that here. Vortex, shot on. What a redirect shot from the goalkeeper. A little bit further forward, maybe a little bit more pace on that defensive rotation. Probably keeps us out of the net for sure. But nonetheless, we are now sitting up 1-0 in favor of New Orleans here in Game 5. Vortex, Maury. Opt to go the distance, split the 50. Daze takes all the momentum off the backboard, collects the ball. Ooh, tough spot. Oh no, Cletus rotated up a little bit too far forward, and Vortex snipes from halfway away on the pitch. That is smelling blood in the water. That is seeing a player who doesn't have a lot of boost, who doesn't have possession, and who doesn't have the ability to continue to play and say, hey, I'm just going to take a deep booming shot here. I know that my opposition has rotated up too far, and in turn, I'm going to get a free goal. Daze, underneath, flips, takes the half volley. Not a lot of force there, but is able to get that back to their own teammate. Vortex with a read, though. Maury pops it high and to the side. Daze splits the 50, takes control of that. That bounces through. Boltini opts for a light touch. Probably looking for a little bit lighter, so they could have followed off the backboard. Ooh, Maury tried to be a bit cutesy with it with a light pinch to get it over the goalkeeper. Gets just a little bit too much power and in turn isn't able to. Holy heckaroonie! Vortex, I cannot believe you just lifted that. Air dribbled it in through a 50 shove. Cletus could not keep that out of the net unless they hit the weight room at least 3 more times a week. Vortex just big bodies that. Vortex able to split yet another big body kickoff, pushes it across the pitch. Boltini was just not able to get back to it and put that as a shot on. Cletus pops it high. Vortex takes a diving 50 to keep that out of their own net. Maury takes control here. No, Vortex is able to put that over for Boltini, and Boltini can't quite get the shot past Daze, so yet another save in the stats column for this Charlotte team. Ooh, tough spot. Maury, great recovery. Bit scary for me as a Rocket League player as they were landing and then having to immediately redirect their momentum back up, which can be difficult with the wrong timing in mind. Dropping it off the sidewall. Boltini looks to push it through Daze. Daze pops it up high by accident. Maury's there with the read. Has to use all 60 boost in the tank, but is able to quickly collect 100 and take another 50 with Vortex. Vortex, miscommunication here. Boltini in a tough spot. Vortex tries to take a ground pinch through. Daze sitting still here. Wonder if there might be a controller disconnect for Daze. Ooh. Bit of a 3v2 action as Daze has not now moved for 10 seconds. Could be controller, could be Wi-Fi. Mori, though, taking the two-man rotation quickly, is able to clear away what could have been another goal. Wi-Fi pops it high. That's going to waterfall almost straight down. No, takes a very favorable bounce outwards. And Vortex takes goal number 4 for New Orleans. With 2:07 left to be played, if you're Charlotte, it is still possible. 2:07 left on the time clock can potentially get you a dub, but you can't. You're not going to be able to do it without your star striker. Days lost connection. Now it shows Days has rejoined the match. Yep, they are back in the rotation. They are back. Must have been a bit of a lapse of internet. Boltini has control. Dangerous spot as they've got two of the Charlotte players on their heels. Has control. Oh my goodness. Boltini almost pulled a Houdini and caught all of the defenders for Charlotte off guard for a second there. Vortex pops it high off the sidewall here. Vortex looking to drop it down for Boltini, but that's going to be too far to the outside. Days elevates a little too slowly and is unable to put that back on target, leaving a shotless offensive attempt for Charlotte here. Vortex. Ooh, no. Days has a lot of control here with the ball, but is unable to really get it back and set it up for their own team to shoot it. With pretty much a minute left to be played, I don't know if Charlotte is going to be able to make up 4 goals. That would be practically a miracle in Rocket League standards. Ooh, there's goal number 1 if you're Mori. I hopefully didn't cast or curse that into existence, because by golly, that would be rough to be New Orleans and lose a 4-goal lead. We'll see, though. 50 seconds is a decent amount left to be played for 3 goals. You need one pretty much every 15 seconds. A kickoff goal anywhere in there can quickly flip it from I can't speak, holy cow, a 3-goal differential to a 1-goal differential if you get a great shot, great goal, and then immediately get a kickoff goal right after. So if you're Charlotte, it's definitely possible, but with every second being played, every second coming off the board here, it's a dangerous spot. What a touch by Days. Takes the double post touch. What I could have swore was not nearly enough effort to push that away. They were able to keep that play alive and keep it out of their own net. Holy heckaroonie. Boltini tries to get it between 2 defenders, one high, one low. Can't quite squeeze the gap. So Mori, with 7 seconds left to be played, is going to be unable to score 3 goals. And in turn, this is going to go in favor of New Orleans. Whew. Great way to wrap it up. Terrifying storyline for me, because New Orleans loses game 1 4-1. Oh well, they regain. New Orleans as a franchise for some reason starts off weak, gets stronger on the back end. I don't know what Don was doing. I don't know if it's part of their playbook or their script, but that just seems to be the way it happens. Game 2 wins 3-2 in overtime with 2 minutes having been played. Game 3 wins 3-1. Game 4, they lose the game. And they allow this to become a 5-game series in a way that you don't want to let happen. You don't want to leave the door open. You don't want to let your opponents start to creep back into the action. But they find a way. The Academy team finds a way to take the series. And in turn, now we get to move back to our main features of the night. We're going to move to the professional series. But we'll take a quick break as I reach out to that team and we get things squared away.
Make the ground shake.
Oh, good grief. Dondo, I am glad you were watching the stream because, my boy, I was calling out incredible callouts about how great and how fine this Apple is. But, my boy, now that I'm back on the mic, we will go ahead and talk a little bit more about the action like I've totally not been monologuing to myself for the last, 3 minutes. Pug elevates, takes the push down center here. Swag tries to get it dropped back over the Zoka, but Zoka is unable to follow as they don't have a lot of boost left in the tank here. Pug pushes it forward. Icy, last player alive and last player back. Jumps into the action here, splits the 50. Swag, though, first to the ball, and Zoka, who had already been pre-jumped looking for that contact, was able to split the 50. Icy, pushing it all the way down the pitch. Ooh, dangerous spot here as Pineapple tries to get it through the last line of defense, but that's going to be cleared away by Zoka. Incredible shot on target. Ooh, Icy elevated and just clears that away. This will stay 3-2 in favor of Grand Forks. So when I was monologuing a little bit, talking to myself because I clearly didn't have my output on, I was talking about how New Orleans took that first Academy series at 8 p.m., winning games 2, 3, and 5 to square things away. We'll see if New Orleans can continue the franchise success as Icy attempts to use a little bit of misdirection and fake the first bit of contact and catch the defender off guard. Ale is able to push it through one. That's high and popped up high, or not quite popped up high. Icy tries to get it over to Pineapple. Pineapple looking to get it center for Ale, but Ale has to sit pretty far back to not let Swag initiate the counterattack. Zoka elevated a little too far and removed themselves from the play. Swag dives back into the action. It is a dangerous spot if you're New Orleans. You've got 16 seconds left. You maybe have one, maybe two more shot opportunities left in the tank before you run out of time. They need to make the most of it here and now. Pineapple gets it over one. Icy pushes it through two. No! Swag with the quick reaction is able to push this now to a Game 3 win in favor of Grand Sporks. And now Grand Sporks. Oh, man. I'm never going to live that down. Grand Forks here going up 2-1 in the series. Hello, CSA. Fantastic to know that you guys are running the back post right now and probably catching, hopefully, a lot more incredible action on the desk. I've already called them Grand Sporks 1. And we'll see if they will continue to be the multi-tool of offense. All three players averaging out almost 3 shots apiece here. Swag and Pug able to take 3. Zoka taking 2. 8 shots is a dangerous spot if you're in New Orleans. You don't want to let them take so many against your defense. You want to try and maintain a little bit of midfield control. Oh, all right, teams. Jeez, getting told to ready up. Trying to monologue here. It is what it is, my man. I know we'll get more CSA action on the desk for sure. But without ado, we are going to move into Game 4 of this professional series, of which I need to adjust my borrow for while we are workshopping here a bit. It's been a fantastic night of Rocket League in favor of New Orleans. They were able to take the Academy Series in a 3-2 series win. First of our Academy Series on stream for the season. Icy is sad, takes a ripper and puts them up 1-0 with only 22 seconds having been elapsed. Great spot if you're Icy is sad. Great spot if you're New Orleans, but not a great spot if you're looking for the Grand Forks side here. Turn on a bit of my desktop audio because unfortunately I just realized I didn't have any of the Rocket League sounds going. Swag gets a favorable touch here. Icy is sad. Last line of defense is able to put that favorably off the corner, but unfortunately gets a second touch here. So now Ale has to dive right back into the action. Pineapple pushes this down to the pitch, into the corner, looking for a second touch. Can't quite get there. Not a lot of boost to be able to make the final last-second corrections they might have needed to take a favorable bounce out of the corner and hopefully enable their two-man to take a shot on target. Instead, Pug is going to be able to push this over to the sidewall here. Ale, bit of a wave dash off the side here to generate some solid momentum. Zoka pushing it down the pitch. Not a lot of boost to follow, but Ale might not quite know that. Ooh, it's going to be Ripper on target. No, it's going to be wide. Zoka tries to get it back over to Swag, but Icy, the last line of defense, is able to keep this out of the back of the net and in turn allow New Orleans to maintain their 1-goal lead. Icy Takes a chip touch, looking for Pineapple to get the back door, but can't quite get there as Pineapple was yet again out of boost. Zoka, the deep push all the way down the pitch. Has the follow, looking for Pug. Pug has to rotate back, though, as Ice is sad. Is just waiting for that first touch, playing solid shadow defense. Icy is sad. Gets a very favorable bounce here. Ale has the follow, off the ceiling, has the flip reset, opts to go all the way down to the pitch, and then take control here. All three New Orleans players sitting squarely on top of one another in a very dangerous display of friendship. Pineapple rotates off the ball here. In turn, Ale gets a lovely pop. Icy is sad, has the follow. Not a lot of force to push it all the way down the pitch. So instead, Pineapple has to quickly dive back and push this as a pinch against the backboard to shove it out to Pug and hope they can't put a ripper on target. No protractors were available. Pineapple, incredible double tap to themselves out of the corner. Keeps a little bit of possession for New Orleans. Pineapple elevates. Ripper all the way down to the corner. Gets a bounce off the backboard, though. Is not able to find the corner or the angle to redirect center. And in turn, Icy might be able to take a free goal here. No! The fourth defender. Looking for Grand Forks Spartans. The crossbar. Keeps that out of the back of the net. And in turn, we will stay in some exciting 1-0 action and potentially see a Game 5 here. But with a minute 50 left to be played, that is a lot of Rocket League action for sure. Ale, one-on-one with Zoka. Zoka has a lot of boost in the tank, tries to get it past Ale, but Ale has an incredible read. Can't quite get back to the ball, though, so Swag dives in. That's going to be a potential shot on target. We almost saw an incredible redirect opportunity from Swag to be able to put that on target after a wild touch from their team. Ale tries to get a little bit of a light pop over the last line of defense here. Pineapple, great save here to keep your team's hopes and dreams alive in Game 4. A loss here would be the end of a fantastic series for New Orleans. Pug splits the 50. Icy has to take the touch on defense and can't collect the 100 boost, so Swag is able to follow the ball and put that into the net and take a 1-1 equalization here in Game 4. Very dangerous waters for New Orleans. It's a best-of-5 series, and they are already down 2-1 on the series score. Ale, great kickoff. Pug has the read, does not get a favorable touch, and Pineapple is just going to immediately start applying pressure to this Grand Forks defense. Friendship pinch. Icy is sad, has the touch past one. No, Zoka has control. Pineapple elevates, gets the first touch, looks to fake it past the first, but Zoka sniffed that out from a mile away. Did not want to let that go underneath and potentially become the damning goal, if you will. What a redirect here from Pug. Ale quickly able to get back on defense, fakes the first touch, elevates, looking to go over Pug, can't quite get there. So in turn, Pineapple has the first touch. Not a lot of boost to follow, so they're going to have to let Grand Forks take control here. Swag, double tap off the sidewall here. Ooh, favorable spot. Dangerous spot here for Grand Forks. Pineapple, no, that's going to be crossbar. Zoka takes a deep clear, and now we go to overtime here in Game 4. Icy is sad. Zoka, no, Icy is sad, gets it right over the top. Swag has to jump up pretty quickly, take the take the touch and keep that alive. Pineapple doinks it down. Zoka has the read. Ale off the backboard, looks to get a second touch here, gets the second touch, bumps the final defender. Icy looking to elevate over Pug yet again. A little bit of deja vu here as Pug is able to elevate quickly and put this off the backboard. Icy pushes Pug away from the ball. Swag splits the 50. Pug's there with control. Pug backflipped into it, but was unable to actually push that towards the opposition's net. I believe a New Orleans player just shoved a Grand Forks Spartans player into Ale to delete Ale. I don't know if that should count as a team demolition, but it probably should. Icy is sad, fakes the touch, has the defender jumping. Pineapple off the sidewall, gets a very light touch. Ale with the read, looking to possibly take it center. Pineapple, who immediately rotated back to get some space. Friendship pinch halfway to the goal, not quite on target. They had all the power in the world. If they can find a way to angle these friendship pinches, they might be able to actually put one on target and be damning, if you will. Ale, who has missed the boost, finally gets back to the ball. A very, very incredible touch, puts that high off the backboard. Zoka is without boost. Pug has 100, but takes the first touch. Swag redirects it. Pineapple got their shot, but couldn't quite take the follow. So instead, Ale is going to push this all the way down the pitch. Collects the ball. Pug steals possession. Looking for a bit of a musty flick. Can't quite get it past the last line of aerial defense. Incredible bump on Zoka. Leaves Swag in a bit of an awkward spot where they need to quickly elevate and take the touch. Ale, not a lot of boost, was able to dive back in and clear that away from their own net. With 2 minutes of overtime having been played here, it's still anybody's game. Dangerous spot if you're New Orleans is you have all 3 players up on offense. Pineapple pushed it across. No one there from New Orleans able to take that shot opportunity. So instead, we will continue with some more overtime action. That's going to be popped over. Icy is sad, but Ale read that pretty quickly, dove back in and took control. Ale pushing it up to Icy is sad. Icy is sad, missing the redirect opportunity, so Pug has control. Elevates over 1. Pineapple splits the 50 for 2, and Ale, as the 3-man, is able to push that down to the midline. Icy, half volleys, getting it off the center. Pineapple has to split the 50 with Zoka, who read that defense very well. Icy looking for a pass center. Pineapple, who does not have a lot of boost, has to rotate all the way back to their own corner. Dives back in, deletes Pug, and in turn is now going to be up for a redirect pass back down to Ale. Ale looking for a shot on, and Ale slots what's going to be goal number 2 here for New Orleans in their professional series, and is able to push this now to a 2-2 series lineup. Swag backing out of the lobby. I wonder if they're just making a car change. Could be very possible. What? Am I going crazy? It is a best of 5, right? I'm not losing my CSA. Help me out here. It is a best of 5, right? All right, well, that I could have sworn I was going crazy. It looks like the Grand Forks Spartans professional team, one of their players is going to be unable to continue for this best of 5 series. So with it tied 2-2, it looks like game 5 is going to be a forfeit from Grand Forks Spartans, and in turn will give New Orleans a series win here. They have now won Academy and Professional. Didn't realize that by winning that game 4, they weren't going to prolong the series. They were simply going to win the series because of that forfeit. But that is the way Rocket League shapes out. We will need just a couple minutes here as we regain, and we will come right back with a superstar matchup. All right, so we are technically back. Unfortunately, as of this point in time, I did not realize that New Orleans Superstar Series, to my knowledge now, has rescheduled. They're going to be playing at a different date and time. So as of now, we do have a bit of a prolonged intermission. I will go ahead and bring down the stream. We will come back once we get our World Class Series ready to go, and then you will get to see some incredible Rocket League action. Until that time, thanks for streaming, or thanks for tuning in, I should say, to the stream. And outside of that, we will catch you guys in a little bit. Could you imagine if I was actually prepared, ready to go for the first time in my life, and wasn't just firing it from the hip? Well, as I'm getting my Video Ninja set up, fixed, and ready to go, I just want to let everybody know we are getting back into some good Rocket League action. We are going to be getting into some World Class Series stuff going on here. As I'm trying to fix my camera. Hey, look at that. Okay. If you are, I'm getting back. Cool. If you are turning back in, we're going to be getting into some world-class action for some Nightmares versus a good old-fashioned... Ooh, what's up, Massimo? Go ahead and shoot me the lobby info, would you? Because I think I got it wrong. My epic is not good times. No spaces, spelled out exactly the way you say it. Or the way it sounds. Not good times. No spaces. No spaces. Hey, look at that. Oh, you guys are already in the lobby, I take it? Dope. Cool. Alrighty, people, as we are getting into the action here, as we're getting our players on the pitch and whatnot, just to give you a bit of a recap for what we've seen so far on the night, we have seen a bit of some fantastic Rocket League play from New Orleans. We saw them open up here with a good series in Academy. First series we've had in Academy all season. Second series, or first series of the Academy, they won 3-2, barely squeaking out. Barely squeaking out a win there. Can't let that go black screen. Did I forget to actually select that? Sorry, I was in the middle of hanging out and shooting the shit a little bit with Mr. Dondo. Ooh, I actually have that backwards. We need to get that flipped here. Cool. There we go. So, New Orleans, Grand Forks Spartans. Oh my goodness. Bit of a tongue twister. I've been calling them the Grand Sporks all night. Incredibly, New Orleans was able to beat them, and technically it was a 2-2 series for professional, but one of the players for the Grand Forks Spartans was unable to continue. So in turn, they gave a forfeit, and New Orleans was able to come away with a win for the Pro Series. So New Orleans beating Charlotte in Academy, beating Grand Forks in Pro, is looking to continue a bit of that franchise success here in the World Class Series. We've already started off strong. Massimo getting goal number 1 here. Gio looking at that sidewall pinch, tries to get something going there for their team. Tox off the backboard, able to get that redirected here. Aqua looking for the read, gets it off the corner, looking to get back to the ball, but can't quite get there. Gio dropping it down for Rome. Massimo is able to clear that away. This is a bit of a sub up for New Orleans. They do have Biwoso here, who is a sub up from their superstar, somewhat from superstar, sorry. So we'll see how that meshes, but remember, Aqua, Massimo, for our world-class players, they performed exceptionally well in Major Number 1, and were able to make it all the way to the finals. As I say that, Tox was able to get that ball squeezed in through to equalize this 1-1 for Grand Forks. Gio, Biwosa getting a kickoff here. Rome elevates it over 1. Aqua's there with the read, splits the 50. That pops up high. Aqua looking for yet another 50 with Tox, is able to get there. Tox grabs the 100, looking for Massimo, try to get them bumped off the ball. Instead, Massimo takes the deep clear. Rome, with not a lot to follow in the push, is unable to get back to it. Arwosa is dusted, and Tox is able to get goal number 2 here in favor of Grand Forks. It's going to be a bit of a struggle here, because remember, Biwosa, that is a player who, all in all, is up from superstar. It is a massive jump to go from superstar to world class. You're talking about players who, you know, are arguably somewhere between GC1 to GC3, somewhere in that ballpark, play with their team exceptionally well. And then in the other end, you're talking world class here, players like Tox, who are just that guy, just that level of Rocket League ability. They always sit somewhere between GC3 to SSL. A lot of players sitting real high up on that lineup. Aqua tries to get the fall off on the kickoff from Biwosa. That's going to drop back, though, for Grand Forks Spartans control. Tox splits it over Aqua. Tox gets it dropped for Rome. Rome beats Biwosa off the back line there. Insane. It is difficult, right? Because you are talking about a player who is trying to play up a tier, and they're going to have to make sure they're not the weakest link. They're not the the limiting factor for this New Orleans offense. Biwosa dropping it down for Massimo. Massimo is unable to grab the ball. Aqua, caught off guard with not a lot of boost, is going to be unable to keep this out of their own net. It is 5-1 with 2:03 left to be played in game 1. And if you're just tuning in, this is a tough spot to tune into if you're a New Orleans fan, because remember, they are playing with a subbed up superstar player. And in certain other tiers, like if an academy player subbed up for novice, I could understand it. I could see it and I could agree with it and go, okay, that is possible. It's not that far apart. But when you're talking about a team like a world-class team, it is too great of a gap, in some people's opinions, to make that jump. And hopefully Biwosa can prove them wrong here going forward. Game 1 is turning into a bit of a blowout. 7-1 passports already busted out in favor of Grand Forks. Tox drops this down here. Rome gets a deep touch. Biwosa with control. Not a lot of boost to follow. Is off the backboard. Takes the light touch. Their team is able to follow and get a little bit of a push. Rome elevated over 1, elevated over 2, tries to drop down the angle of a lifetime. Tox jumps. Not a lot of boost to follow, so Rome's going to push this up to Geo, who's off the ceiling looking for a redirect. That's off the backboard. Biwosa with a deep clear to Aqua. Aqua looking for a double tap for themselves. No, they leave it for Massimo, but Geo's going to clear it away. And in turn, we are going to stay here at the Brazil scoreline. Geo pushing it up the pitch. Tox redirects it back over and off target. Geo tries to come in from the back door, but is closed away. And in turn, with 48 seconds left to be played here, at least the bleeding has been stifled. It looks like New Orleans has found some level of rotational play that is preventing the Grand Forks Spartans team from finding the back of the net. Aqua elevates. Biwosa has control of the ball. Looking for a bit of a flick here. Regains. Splits the 50. Oh, that's going to be high. Aqua unable to put that on target. Massimo tries to dive back in. Biwosa is deleted. And it's now going to be 8-1 in favor of Grand Forks here in Game 1. Ooh, if you are a Grand Forks Spartans fan for the world-class team, you are probably sitting pretty happy with yourselves with the way things are panning out. Grand Forks Spartans, actually, to my knowledge, were a totally rebuilt team because coming into tonight, they were 1-7 on their series scores, 8-21 on their games played. Very, very rough start to the season. But all in all, with being the back end of that world-class level play, wonder if Biwosa is going for a bit of a card change. But what we were talking about here, Grand Forks Spartans sitting at squarely 10 points, 16th place. They're looking for anything they can get at this point in time to really claw their way back into the world-class playoffs, potentially with the back half of the season left to be played. As we get into Game 2 here, we'll focus a little bit more on New Orleans. So New Orleans was 15-16. Not really the greatest overall record. Went into the first major for CSA and in turn turned in one of the greatest runs we've seen from a fairly written off team early on. They made it all the way to the finals and were able to compete pretty well against many other world-class teams that might have been viewed a little higher. I believe they were the 8th seed going into that finals matchup. And because of the amount of points they were able to farm in the first major, New Orleans, ooh, what a stuff by Geo, able to push that through the back line of defense and take goal number 1 here for Grand Forks. No, what I was saying, though, in favor of New Orleans, because they were able to take so many points in that major, they went from, I believe, the bottom half of the tier to now they were sitting squarely in 4th coming into this matchup and likely going to be able to parlay as Geo takes yet another incredible angle to put that on target and take goal number 2 here for Grand Forks. Aqua, Tox, taking the kickoff here. Massimo, a little bit of a redirect off the backboard. Biwosa tries to get back to the ball and put a shot on target, but is unable to get enough power generated. Massimo elevated quickly. Tox, able to jump up and get just enough of a deflection to keep that above the goal line and keep that out of their own net. Massimo going for a deep clear, gets a bump on the back line. Geo has to get a touch here, and they do. Not a lot of boost here for Geo or Massimo. The low boost 50 split, very favorable for New Orleans. This keeps this play alive. Biwosa takes a very good pinch off the sidewall here, but Geo is able to take that follow and push it all the way down the pitch into Massimo's waiting arms. Ooh, danger spot. Pass to Geo. Geo is unable to put that shot on target, but neither of them were able to make a defensive touch and keep it out of their own net. Oh my! Very, very lucky play here for New Orleans. If I'm New Orleans, I'm looking for a bit of a regain here after Game 1's beatdown. They lost 8-1 on the first matchup. Yes, they have a sub. Yes, he's from Superstar, but By golly, you got to hope that these two incredible stars out of the world-class league from Aqua and Massimo can turn things around and really elevate their teammate to take a Game 2 win here. While New Orleans is pretty squarely in the playoff race, they're over 40 points, which puts them very, very highly above that 8th seed cutoff. I don't think there's any danger there for the playoff race, but at the same time, you definitely don't want to take any losses. Could hurt the mental going forward. Ooh, Massimo, great touch. Gets it through 2 defenders and keeps this all the way on their back third. Tox is underneath, has control, looking to drop it to Rome, but Rome pushes it back to no man's land. Aqua has to take it from a tough angle. Gets it over 1. Massimo can't quite get the redirect, so Tox is able to get yet another save. With 2:15 left to be played, the scoring has generously slowed down as I caster curse myself before I even speak. Grand Forks moves up 3-0 on this series. Whew. Gio, very, very firm pinch off the sidewall here. Able to get this cleared away. Buosa. Ooh, gets able to get it past 1. The bump from Aqua almost opened up just enough room on the net to open up goal number 1 here for New Orleans. But the final defender did not want to let that play out and in turn was able to clear it away. Buosa in the waiting. Massimo catches the ball. Massimo's deleted. Aqua splits the 50, and now it's going to be Buosa versus Gio. Buosa putting it up into the corner. Gio with a fantastic read. Not a lot of boost to follow. Rome off the backboard. Looking for a push to the side here. Tox shoving it across. Massimo has the read. That's going to be high. And Tox is able to get just enough of a doink to elevate this over the New Orleans side and keep this out of their own, off their own side and potentially out of harm's way. Incredible shot angle from Rome to put so much power from such an angle. I'm really concerned that should have been a goal, but New Orleans was able to quickly elevate and clear it away. Gio playing it patient, collects the ball, has possession, gets the pop. No. Aqua read that for days. Cut that out rather quickly. Incredible touch by Tox, is able to get that over both defenders from New Orleans. And now it's going to be 4-0 in favor of the Grand Forks Spartans. Tox, Aqua, split the 50 here. Aqua dropping it down into the center. Buosa gets a bit of a push, but that's going to have to be followed by Aqua, who just isn't quite able to get back to the ball. Massimo, not a lot of boost, collects 100. That's going to be slotted by Gio, and game 2 is definitely under wraps. Yeah, it definitely just goes to show how much of a gap there is between Superstar, which most people from like the Premier League of RSC, Premier League for MLE, you've got these players who would probably qualify for borderline world-class play. It's incredible to see the difference between them and, say, like an Aqua, a Massimo, a Tox, or a Gio, a player who really, as we even see from Gio there, RLCS 2024 Challenger, that is bonkers, is that we have this level of competition in CSA ready to go to bat, and how much of a difference it is between these two tiers. Gio taking a deep touch. Buosa cutting it out quickly. Tox is going to let this drop, and game 2 is going to go in the books for the Grand Forks Spartans. And we will move on to what will likely, after the first 2 games, be our final for the night. Unless Buosa, who is a Season 16 SSL tournament winner, can figure out how to play up a tremendous gap. Unless they can make that jump, I don't know if there's anything that could change it. I'm fairly certain if I was on that pitch right now, I'd be nothing more than a traffic cone for the Grand Forks Spartans offense. Massimo, great kickoff, able to leave it for Biwosa, who's quickly cheating. Tox gets a favorable double tap. Aqua looking for a bit of a psycho here, able to get the first touch off the backboard. Quick elevation, gets the second touch, and in turn now Biwosa is able to clear it away. Biwosa splits the 50, takes the dub. Rome has possession, though, off the second 50. Ooh, dangerous spot for Biwosa. Biwosa gets just enough of a touch here. Gonna need another touch from Biwosa to keep it out of the net, and they do. They are able to get it pushed away. Biwosa trying to get it up to Aqua, but isn't able to generate enough power on it. What a redirect from Biwosa from a pass from Massimo. And now New Orleans takes their first lead of the series. Massimo, Rome, taking a kickoff here. Massimo shoving it through, but Gio's got possession, pushes it up for Tox. Biwosa quickly plays up. Oh, goodness. Dangerous spot here. Almost a bit of a redirect snafu. We saw that in the Pro Series. Didn't really think we would see that in the World Class Series, but anything goes in Rocket League. Rome shoves it through the defense, able to put a shot on target, busted out the protractor. Thankfully, Massimo is a world-class player and is able to clear that away with ease. Tox pushing it across the pitch. Massimo's there. No, has to play back because he knows Rome has the touch. Massimo putting it back into the corner here. Rome pops up, gets a second tap, looking for a third to follow. Biwosa splits the 50 there. Massimo keeping the play alive here. Gio elevates, can't quite get the touch here, but Rome's got the follow. Ooh, dangerous spot. Rome and Biwosa, neither had a lot of boost, but always favorable when you've got a great defender like Massimo in the waiting right behind. Gio tries to get it past Massimo, can't. Very favorable bounce. Aqua's going to be there for the follow. The double tap by the Grand Forks Spartans leaves Massimo with an offensive opportunity here. Tox gets a tap. Aqua tries to get a little bit of a lift over Gio, but can't quite get enough of a lift to keep it out of the opposition's control. Rome putting it back into the corner here. That's a redirect center for Massimo, but couldn't quite get a shades of earlier of this game. In turn, Aqua redirects the shot off their own backboard and is able to keep this out of their own net. Oh, is that going to be on target? No, a little wide, as what could have been goal number 2 for New Orleans here and potentially establish a good lead going into Game 4. Leaves them still in a bit of a predicament. There's a lot of pressure on New Orleans here to really get their second goal and hopefully remove all doubt in the end of the series. Ooh, Gio tries to corral it, can't quite get back to it, instead takes the pinch on the back wall and stalls the play. Massimo with a deep touch. Tox has the double tap read off the ceiling. Rome elevates. Biwosa cutting it out as Rome could not quite elevate it over the back line of defense. It's a difficult game to be played when you're playing with people like an Aqua, like a Tox, like a Gio, who are so quick to pull out any golf club they've got in their bag and just throttle you with mechanics and speed. And then you're being asked, hey, by the way, I need you to sub up a play against monsters. It's like saying, hey, I need you to step up out of the G League and go against an NBA player real quick. I hope you don't mind. You'll be fine. Normally, they can possibly do something with it, but there is still a difference in elevated play between the two tiers. It's difficult to make up with minor touches. What an incredibly favorable 50 split from Biwosa to shove it all the way across the pitch and in turn give New Orleans a second goal, and it will hopefully extend this series. For those of you who are tuning in, we did lose Game 1 8-1, and then we did lose Game 2 5-0. Tremendous aggregate out of the first two games, sitting at 13-1, and now they're going to be able to claw back in just a little bit and be 13-3, hopefully. But with 45 seconds left to be played, that's still a lot of time left to be played in world class. Ooh, good pass outlet center. Aqua has the follow. Not a lot of boost. Collects a 12 piece. Geo tries to push it down. It's kind of wild to see as well. The Grand Forks Spartans through games 1 and games 2 had incredible team play. In games 3 here, it seems to me that they're diving at the ball just a little bit more and going for less of a team utility play. Rome gets a great touch over a boostless Aqua. And now he's at 2-1 here. Massimo elevates. Can't quite get it through Tox, who didn't have a lot of boost, but leaves it for Rome. Rome looking for a bit of a flip reset. Tox could easily get back to that one. Grabs the 100. Goes straight up to the ball. With 8 seconds left to be played, if Grand Forks Spartans wants to force an overtime, they're going to have to do it here. Tox dropping at center. Massimo has the read. Massimo, no. Aqua takes the deep touch, has the follow off the ceiling, and is going to drop this right into the ground to force a game 4 here between Grand Forks Spartans and New Orleans. It's weird. I didn't see a lot of change from New Orleans as compared to I felt like what I saw. I talked with Rob about this a few weeks ago, probably last week actually, in the major series for World Class. You see players that they go up a few goals, they go up, they get the momentum, they get everything they need. Oh, excuse me. And then instead of keeping their foot firmly applied to the gas pedal, they kind of lean back and rest on their laurels. And you just can't do it. If you're trying to close out a series and you don't want to let the door squeeze back open, you have to just continue to drive home great play after great play and prevent the opposition from finding momentum. Biwosa, great first touch off the backboard and a great follow to keep it out of their own net, is going to be stuck here in a bit of a gamble as Massimo can't quite get back to the ball, and Gio takes goal number 1 here in game 4. Tox, Biwosa, diving at the ball here. Rome has control, puts the Geo. Massimo correctly assumes the pass is coming and the shot is not the immediate problem. Splits a bit of a friendship pinch with Biwosa. Ooh, Biwosa could not get it past a boostless Tox. Tox read that well and sat back and played patient. Leaving it for Geo. Biwosa elevates quickly. Gets cleared to the sidewall here. Aqua, with not a lot of boost in the tank, puts a ripper, and it's going to be a little bit wide right. So now Rome tries to get it past this great wall in New Orleans and just can't quite get it there. Aqua beats Grand Forks to the ball here. Rome, Geo, and Tox in that moment probably had about 80 boost, and Tox had a good 70 of it. Outlet pass to Aqua. Aqua, not a lot of beans in the tank. Has to rotate back here. Biwosa, not sure what the game plan is here, but they're trying to push it down the pitch, for looking for each other. They're just finding that difficulty connecting the infield pitch. Biwosa, great read, great elevation. Rome, able to make the save here. Geo. Ooh, incredible, incredible way to recover from the first touch and set up the second. Geo is deleted by Massimo. Biwosa underneath the ball. Plays patient, gets underneath it. Aqua had the ball dropped to their lap here. Is able to push this all the way down the pitch. Massimo's deleted, leaving Aqua and Biwosa by themselves. Biwosa wins the 50. It's going to be off the backboard. Drop center for Massimo. Geo able to clear this all the way down the pitch. Aqua almost needs a second touch there, but couldn't quite get it. So thankfully, Massimo was able to drop this down to Aqua. Holy heck. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to world-class players. These are the people that we're looking at, and we're seeing them pull off some of the nuttiest things, the clip of the weeks. As I say that, Rome, good old-fashioned quick rotation, has the boost, has the ball in their sights. Massimo caught on the back line. With 2:12 left to be played, I don't necessarily know how feasible it is for this New Orleans team to come back and take the win with a superstar sub. We will see how this works out, though, as Geo gets their flip reset off the ceiling. Can't quite get underneath it, so Biwosa has control. Tox has the read, clears the first touch away. That's going to be a shot on target, but Geo has the read with ease and is able to clear this back to the corner. Tox pushes it down the pitch. Very favorable bounce for New Orleans. That's going to be high. Geo, Massimo, and now Rome all looking to get a little bit of more favorable touch here. Aqua puts a scorcher towards the top right. It's cleared away, though, as World Class does. It needs a last-second pass in World Class, it feels. I don't feel, from what I've seen, that players in World Class can take the scorchers that might necessarily pay off in the Pro or even some Superstar series. There has to be a last-second pass or some kind of multi-option shot where you have a few different plays available to catch the defender off guard. Without it, they're just going to clear it with ease, as we've seen from the 5 saves from Grand Forks. That goal number 3 is probably going to be the dagger for Grand Forks in this World Class series, as we now sit 3-0 in favor of Grand Forks. Tox, Geo, and Biwosa all sitting well and within proximity of the ball there. Aqua and Rome split the 50 off the back wall here. Rome diving back in is able to 50 it through yet another New Orleans player. Rome still has control. Rome, yet another big body play. Man. It's crazy the level of control Rome has right now. Holy heck, Rome. Big bodied 450s back to back to back to back, and then opted to rotate right back into the action with what boost they had. Elevates and just air carries it right over the New Orleans defense. Aqua, Massimo, and Rome all pushing up pretty quickly here. Rome has control, looking for yet another shot, and that's going to be goal number 5 in favor of Grand Forks. Ooh, beautiful. Beautiful world-class play here. With 5-0 on the board, I don't necessarily see a very positive way for this to final out for New Orleans. But like we did talk about, they are running a sub. They are pretty firmly in the playoff run here. And with only 3 weeks left to be played in the season, Game 4, Week 5 will be coming to a close. And with that being said, that is going to be the end of the series. So, for those of you who did tune in earlier, we did just now finish up our 3rd series of the night. Series number 1, we saw an Academy series for the first time in the season. New Orleans wins that 3-2. New Orleans takes the Professional series, going New Orleans takes the Professional series, going 2-2, and then taking a final a forfeit there from Grand Forks Pro team because one of their players had to leave. And then now we sit with a loss here, pretty square 3-1 loss on a 19-2 aggregate, 19-3 maybe, in favor of Grand Forks. But for those of you who've tuned in, this has been a fantastic week of excellent CSA action. We will catch you guys next week as New Orleans moves on to play yet one of their final 3. Gotta check here. I'm pretty sure it's going to be... I could be wrong. Gotta pull up the schedule one last time, because it should be 5:20. Hopefully we'll be a little bit more square with a few more matches. 5:18. Yeah, we'll get it down to you. Just come back, same bad time, same bad place. We'll see you 8 p.m. Eastern on the 18th. Y'all take it easy.